Okay, good morning everybody and welcome to today's free webinar. It's a pleasure to have you with us this morning. As you will see once you've joined this morning, we have put your microphones on mute. However, should you want to interact with us in any way possible, please do so just by raising your hand using the Q&A facility or the chat facility. It'll be a pleasure to hear from you. If we can ask you just to pop any mobiles on silent, just so that they're not a distraction for you, that would be fantastic. And as I say, what we are also doing, just for your knowledge, is we are recording today's session, and then that will be available to you for future reference also. My name's Anna Clapton. I'm going to be your host for today, which basically means I'm just going to guide you through the session and keep the interaction tools open. Our key hosts today, though, are Caroline Harper, who's our Head of Employee Relations, and Katie Edwards, who's our Business Analytics Manager. And as you can see, both of their contact details are on the screen now, should you wish to contact them during or after. So a little bit about us, the Curve Group. For those of you that haven't attended one of our webinars before, the Curve Group is the largest privately owned recruitment and HR outsourcer in the UK, and that's something that we are exceedingly proud of. We provide outsourced solutions across the entire employee life cycle, just as the wheel on the slide shows. Our outsourced solutions are underpinned by a range of complementary specialist consultancy and project services. Our solutions can be configured to support businesses of all shapes and sizes, from startups, challenger brands, right through to the FTSE 250 business. As well as being fully embedded into our business, our solutions can also be wrapped around as a complement to your existing teams and functions, providing additional expertise and scalability when your business needs it the most. We are incredibly proud of what we deliver, and this is just a small selection of our awards and industry recognition that we've received over the years. So we are really proud to say that we do have a very healthy trophy cabinet as well. So let's just take a look now at the aim of the webinar. So today's webinar is to introduce the different types of HR analytics, to demonstrate the value of capturing people data, to share how to use HR analytics to develop your HR strategy and improve business decisions and ultimately business performance. Now let's take a look at what's coming up, and I'm now going to introduce you over to Caroline. Caroline, over to you.
Thanks, Anna. Good morning, everybody. So firstly, it's what is HR analytics, the importance of HR analytics, quantitative and qualitative data, effective HR analytics, data input, calculations and trends, which data should be included in your reports, using technology to capture meaningful and insightful data, and a question and answer at the end. Okay, so HR analytics uses people data, which is usually collected by an organisation's HR system, as well as business information. So people analytics provides people, professionals and their stakeholders with insights about their workforce, so HR policies and practices. So ultimately, people analytics can help improve evidence-based decision making. So the importance of HR analytics. So it allows you to measure and report key workforce concepts. It enables you to make evidence-based decisions and displays the impact of HR policies and processes and new improvements, and demonstrates return on investment.
So, thanks, Caroline. So now I'm going to talk about the difference between quantitative and qualitative data. Hi, thanks, Caroline. So first of all, it's important to understand the two different types of data that you can capture. So quantitative data means something that you can quantify and is often illustrated numerically. So this type of data is useful when endeavouring to make non-emotional business decisions, as it's entirely measurable and objective. Examples of quantitative data are headcount, attendance records, and payroll information. When we then look at qualitative data, it's subjective. So it's a view someone has on a specific topic, and it can be interpreted differently by different people. So an example of qualitative data are long form feedback, such as employee surveys, performance reviews, and appraisals. As you can see, HR analytics is not just about reporting on absences. There is a whole host of data that you can capture, transform, and analyse to help you reach your business HR objectives.
So the impact of COVID. So there's no doubt about it, the pandemic has created numerous changes around the world. And one of the most notable changes is in the way that we work. So for over a year, many employees have worked successfully from home. And through workplace opinion service and Gov.op polls, it's become increasingly clear that many companies must be flexible and build a hybrid workplace that fits everyone's new normal. That is, if you want to retain talent. In my opinion, it's extremely unlikely that there will be any available business grounds for rejecting flexible working requests post-lockdown. I just don't think they will be viable. So employers will find it difficult to demonstrate that there will be detrimental impact on quality or performance of work in the long term, especially if there was no such impact through the period of lockdown. That being said, splitting teams with some working from home, some working in the office, so you've got a sort of quasi workforce, may provide some problems, such as how you'll have some people actually physically present in the office in meetings and some people at home. And then there's logistics about managing office space. However, like moving back to the point of this, firstly, you would need to test the waters, for example, by way of an employee opinion survey. So you're working with facts about how employees would prefer to return to the office, and indeed if they do. Then it's logistics. There is how you're going to manage things like performance, which is why data collection and analytics is even higher on the agenda than pre-COVID.
So to truly harness the full potential of your HR data, you need to ensure you're working through the following steps. So data input, I'll go into more detail on this on the next slide, but the quality of the data you capture is imperative in utilising your HR data to make informed business decisions. So if you have messy data in your system or on your spreadsheet, you won't easily be able to pick out any trends or causes for concerns within your organisation. Calculations and trends. No C-suite executive is going to want to look through a table full of raw data and figure out for themselves what the numbers are telling them. A more useful way of presenting that data is to calculate key figures and trends for them. For example, headcount variance month on month or attrition rate for the year. Deciding on what to include in your reporting. You don't want to overload your audience with information. Only share with them the metrics that are relevant to your organisation's HR strategy. For example, if your key focus is to reduce your recruitment cost, a great metric to focus on would be your average attrition rate. You could then lead on to results from their exit interview surveys and analyse these to spot any trends as into why people are choosing to exit your business. This data is more likely to give you insight into why your recruitment costs are high, rather than just focusing on the number of new starters each month. Data visualization, this is where I get geekily excited. So we just spoke about calculating key figures and trends before presenting your data, but there's a lot more you can do with data visualizations. A lot of people absorb information better when it's presented to them visually. So a graph is often a great way to present trends. This way you can visually see if something is going up or down, whether a metric is exceeding a target you've set within your organisation, or to highlight a specific department that may be having issues with ease. Excel is a great tool for this, and we all have access to that. However, a lot of technologies, HR technologies, have built-in dashboards and reporting tools that can really help make your reports look sleek and professional. And then finally, that leads on to your evidence-based decision-making process. So you've put great data into your system, you've analysed it, you've picked out the relevant metrics to report on and made it look pretty. You're now well equipped so you can make effective evidence-based business decisions. Also, don't be afraid to use qualitative data in your reporting. A lot of surveying tools now use AI, artificial intelligence, to read the sentiment of a written response. So without reading through each individual response, the AI can determine whether it had a positive or negative sentiment. This can be really useful when trying to gauge the feeling your workforce have towards something, and it could be utilised in the COVID return to work surveying that Caroline mentioned earlier. Thank you, Anna. So data input. So as I mentioned, this data input is what feeds all of your HR analytics. Therefore, it's imperative that you're capturing the right information you need for your reporting and that that data is input accurately. My first suggestion is that you review what HR data that you're capturing. If you want to report on your workforce's diversity, you won't be able to do this if you haven't captured their diversity information. And if you want to see how many grievances are being raised, and then you decide you want to see that split by business division, if you haven't captured the business division that is against that grievance, again, that's not going to be possible. Review your business goals, decide what HR data you should be reporting on, and then work back from there to ensure you have a place to capture all of the pertinent information. Secondly, and in conjunction with that, make it easy to enter the data. Don't ask for 100 fields or cells worth of data to be entered for each new starter if you only need to capture 10. Make it clear to your HR administrator what is expected of them in terms of where, when, and how the data should be entered. You're not doing this to get shiny reporting. It's also the best way you can safeguard your business. So if you were in the unfortunate situation of undergoing a collective consultation of redundancy, you need to ensure that the data you're using to make these difficult decisions is correct. If you were to be challenged on any of your decisions and you don't have the data to back it up, you could find yourself in a very tricky situation. So, calculations and trends. This is just a quick slide to reiterate the importance of your analytic calculations. There are lots of different summarizing calculations that you can perform, such as averages, percentages, and ratios that really help summarize and give a high-level overview of what's going on in your HR people world. The most important thing to remember is to perform these calculations consistently. So if you look at a headcount average over 3 months in one report and 6 months in another report, you're not getting a true trend analysis across the business of all the different people that are looking at those reports, and the results may mislead you when you're making your business decisions.
So what data should be included in the reports? And sorry here if you can hear my washing machine in the background. It's one of the perils of working from home, unfortunately. So what data should be included in the reports? So one supports a strategic goal. So rather than starting with the data itself, and I think Kate's already spoken about the fact of using raw data and collecting too much of it, start with the strategy. So what does your business want to achieve? And how and what data do you want to get there? Secondly, where there is a known problem, for example, you may want to find out if there's a particular issue in a business area. So there may be lots of grievances against one particular manager or an increased sickness level in a certain department, which would obviously show that there's reduced employee I've forgotten the word now, but engagement in that area, sorry. So thirdly, one that supports a change initiative. So for example, you might decide you want to improve the experience of new starters. So this would be implementing a new, you decide to implement a new induction process. So you would measure employee satisfaction via an opinion poll, you know, for a starter before the induction process, the new one that you've developed, and afterwards. And this would support the implementation by providing the data which hopefully shows an increased satisfaction level amongst the employees on the new induction programme. Then it also wants data that shows a fair and consistent decision-making process. So, for example, Kate spoke about their collective consultation, where you may need to, you know, have a matrix and look at the data of sickness levels or, you know, some performance, who's hit what KPIs. So you need to make sure. So it would show here that examples of employees who may have hit absence triggers, and providing that the data that you've got is fair, it would ensure a fair and consistent approach across the business when recorded and reported upon. Over to you, Kate.
Thank you. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is technology. So a lot of organisations will be storing their HR information in spreadsheets or filing cabinets. There are now a plethora of HR systems out there that provide a more robust infrastructure to store your sensitive HR data. Firstly, from a GDPR point of view, you're much better off storing this personal and sensitive information in a system that is designed to contain it. A spreadsheet that is emailed around can easily be sent to the wrong person by mistake. Also, nowadays, all HR systems are designed with GDPR in mind, meaning the ability to forget people is an integral part of the system. Spreadsheets are also prone to corruption and version control issues. We've all experienced it, and I can say safely that we have also experienced it here at the Curve Group. So it's best to avoid storing any business critical data solely in spreadsheet form. HR systems allow for self-service by your employees, which has two brilliant benefits. It reduces the risk of data input errors for key information like addresses, bank details, and performance reviews, as the employee is entering this information into the system directly. It also cuts down the HR admin time, as they no longer need to update the system for employees, as they can access it themselves. If you're working for a larger organisation, you may also have the need to track your employee relation cases. So as Caroline touched on earlier, this could be anything from conducting risk assessments and administering someone's maternity leave through to disciplinaries and grievances. There are systems out there that can manage a case for you from open to close and capture all of the correspondence and documentation in one place. This can prove useful if you were to ever end up going to a tribunal, and it avoids you scrabbling around multiple systems, filing cabinets, spreadsheets to find everything that you need to evidence in that tribunal. At the Curve Group, we're technology agnostic, and I've had the pleasure of working with all of the HR systems that are shown there in that slide. So that is now the end of Caroline and I's presentation. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to use them using the channels that Anna mentioned earlier. So you can raise your hand, you can use the Q&A functionality or the chat facility, and we're happy to answer any of your questions you have about any of that.
Thank you. So just so you know, ladies, we've got no questions that have come in at the moment and nobody's raised their hand. We'll give it a couple of more minutes, but please, if we've got a couple of more slides to cover, so if you do think about anything, just as we're going through these last few slides, please do, as we say, pop it in the Q&A, in the chat, or raise your hand, or alternatively, if you prefer to get in touch offline with Caroline or Katie, then please do so. Caroline, over to you just to talk around a few other bits.
So we could help you with the things listed on the screen here. So we can deliver HR file and data audits. So obviously that's quite important with the things that Katie spoke about, ensuring that the data you've got is accurate, that you have all the completed fields and everything that you need to retain legally, and also to ensure that your data is accurate. So the creation and review of HR policies, processes, contracts and employee handbooks. So as we spoke about there, any performance are particularly relevant at the moment, performance related policies and sickness absence we've been doing quite a lot of at the moment. So HR technology procurement and configuration projects. So as part of our service, our ER service, which is the section I run, we create HRMI packs for all of our outsourced clients. So these are the number of cases by type, department, how long it takes to resolve a case. Kate, have I missed anything that we show?
And also we're showing the outcomes of those cases as well, so that we can help the managers make better decisions on what needs to happen within their workforce.
Yeah, so some things that people have seen from that is that there's training areas in certain departments, and also demonstrates the effectiveness of our service as well. And then lastly, workforce planning consultancy, which I believe you do a lot of, Anna. So.
I do. Absolutely, yeah. So just to give you an idea of just a couple of things that we've also got coming up next. So our next couple of webinars, again, they are little bite-sized webinars, just like we've shown you today. We've got one coming up on the 22nd of June, which is all around managing poor performance in your business and the practical strategies around it, and one on the 13th of July around creating your own emergent talent and future leaders strategy as well. All of our previous webinars can be found on our website, and as I say, they're all bite-sized webinars just to give you an idea and an indication of how we can support you. At this point in time, I've got no other questions that have come up, nothing in the chat facility and no hands that have been raised. So it just leaves me to say on behalf of Caroline, Kate and myself, thank you very much for attending. It's been a pleasure having you with us this morning. We will send out a copy of the recording to you or a link to the recording for you, just so that you have got it for future reference. So on behalf of everybody, thank you and goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Bye.